Hi, I'm Brian Rose. My guest today is Colonel Douglas Macgregor, the decorated combat veteran, author, and foreign policy expert.
So the Russians are in good shape. They've taken some losses, but their losses are perhaps in the hundreds, maybe 1,000 wounded total. Nothing significant or severe that the Russians cannot absorb. The Ukrainian side's in a very different position. They were built up and pushed, I think, to launch these counteroffensives or counterattacks up and down the line to prove that there was still life in Ukraine, to attract more support. I think the rationale for it was much more political than military. And the losses they've sustained are horrific. The latest figures I've seen, somewhere is between 24 and 26,000 Ukrainian soldiers have died just within the last month as a result of these counterattacks. How many thousands of wounded have been added to the numbers that already exist, we don't know. Now throwing new pieces of equipment, whether they're obsolete or relatively modern. The Storm Shadow missiles, I think is what it's called from the British. Those are very effective, and some of them have penetrated, though others have been shot down. But on the other hand, we've just announced that we're purchasing Hawk anti-aircraft missiles from Taiwan and shipping them to Ukraine. Well, I guess the threat to Taiwan isn't nearly as great as we thought it was. So now we're taking equipment that we've already sold to the Taiwanese. They're selling it back to us, shipping it to Ukraine. It's not going to make any difference. It's obsolete anyway. The Russian air defenses are superb, is the best word that I can come up with. There is no such thing as perfect integrated air defenses. It's only American cash that really sustains this Ukrainian state. It's on life support. And the humane thing would be to put an end to it and negotiate, but it's not going to happen. And I think that's really what is next on the agenda is in Moscow in the discussions at high levels. I think they're going to finally say, unless we finish this and attack, go on the offensive, there will be no end. Because sitting here in the South and killing large numbers of Ukrainians has not persuaded the West, certainly not Washington, to abandon this folly. He has given very, very specific orders to the Russian army in terms of how he wants them to behave. And if you're looking for a model, you've got to go back to Tsarist Russia, because the Tsar and the Tsarist forces, whatever they were, however imperfect they were a club of humanitarians compared to the evil Bolsheviks that replaced them. He has done everything he can to divorce the behavior and the attitudes and the culture of today's Russia from the Soviet Union and that evil past. I mean, he's not interested in slaughtering Ukrainians. He's been opposed to that from the very beginning. And he's always kept his eye on the ball in terms of, I want to live with everyone when this is over. So he's been holding back and holding back and holding back in the hopes that someone would sober up, wise up, and negotiate. Well, it's not going to happen.